First contact shock. The sleek research vessel Zenith glided silently through the inky void of space, its crystalline hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Inside, Chief Xenobiologist Zixla adjusted her sensory fronds, her iridescent scales shimmering with excitement. After cycles of searching, they had finally found signs of intelligent life on a blue-green planet in an unremarkable solar system. "Captain Vexnor, we're approaching the third planet," Zixla announced, her voice a melodious trill. "Preliminary scans indicate a technologically advanced civilization." Captain Vexnor, a towering insectoid with compound eyes that reflected the holographic displays surrounding him, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Proceed with caution, Zixla. Remember the Galactic Council's first contact protocols." As the Zenith entered orbit, the crew watched in fascination as the planet's features came into sharp focus. Sprawling cities, vast oceans, and lush forests painted a picture of a thriving world. But it was the electromagnetic chatter that truly caught their attention. Radio waves, television broadcasts, and internet signals all pointed to a species on the cusp of interstellar travel. "I'm picking up their dominant language," the ship's linguist, a gelatinous being named Blorp, burbled excitedly. "Translating now. They call themselves humans, and their planet Earth." Captain Vexner's antennae twitched. "Excellent. Zixla, prepare a landing party. We'll make first contact in their largest population center." As the sleek shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, the alien crew marveled at the towering skyscrapers and bustling streets below. They landed in a park, causing an immediate stir among the humans who had gathered to witness this historic moment. Zixla was the first to emerge, her scales shifting to a calming blue hue. "Greetings, humans of Earth," she broadcasted through their hastily configured translator. "We come in peace and in the spirit of scientific exchange." The human crowd murmured in awe, and a group of officials stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth," a woman in a crisp suit said, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, lead xenobiologist for the United Nations First Contact Division." As the two groups began to exchange pleasantries, Zixla's attention was suddenly drawn to a small furry creature trotting alongside one of the human officials. Her scales flashed a warning red. "Beware," she cried out. "There's a predator among you." The humans looked confused, then burst into laughter. Dr. Chen smiled warmly. "Oh, don't worry. That's just Max, my golden retriever. He's harmless. He's my pet." The alien delegation froze, their universal translators struggling to process this information. Captain Vexner's exoskeleton rattled in shock. "Pet, you willingly associate with a predator." Dr. Chen knelt down, scratching behind Max's ears. The dog's tail wagged furiously as he licked her face. "Of course, dogs have been our companions for thousands of years. They're loyal, loving, and help us in countless ways." Zixla's scientific curiosity overcame her initial fear. She inched closer, her sensory fronds quivering. "Fascinating. And this creature lives in your dwelling?" "Absolutely," Dr. Chen replied. "Max is part of my family. Many humans keep pets: dogs, cats, birds, even reptiles, and fish." The alien crew exchanged alarmed glances. Blorp, who had been quietly observing, suddenly gurgled in surprise. "Captain, I've been analyzing their data networks. It appears that humans not only cohabitate with these pets, but they also form strong emotional bonds with them. They even have an entire industry dedicated to pet care and accessories." Captain Vexner's mandibles clacked rapidly, a sign of deep distress in his species. "Impossible. How can a sentient species survive while nurturing potential predators?" As if on cue, a jogger ran past with a large, muscular dog on a leash. The alien delegation recoiled in horror, while the humans remained perfectly calm. Dr. Chen, sensing the aliens' discomfort, tried to explain. "Please, let me show you how we interact with our animal companions. It's an essential part of our culture and history." "Zixla, Ever the scientist nodded cautiously. We would be most interested in studying this phenomenon. It goes against everything we understand about intelligent species and their relationship with their planet's fauna. And so the alien delegation found themselves following Dr. Chen to a nearby dog park, their minds reeling from this unexpected discovery. As they watched humans of all ages playing with dogs of various breeds and sizes, their understanding of this strange species called humans was about to be radically transformed. Captain Vexnor turned to Zixla, his compound eyes reflecting a mix of fear and fascination. I believe, Chief Xenobiologist, that we may need to recalibrate our entire approach to studying this species. These humans are unlike any we've encountered before. Zixla's scales shimmered with a complex pattern of colors, indicating deep thought. Indeed, Captain. It seems that in our search for intelligent life, we've stumbled upon something far more extraordinary than we could have imagined. As Max bounded over to greet them, tail wagging and tongue lolling, the alien crew braced themselves for what promised to be the most challenging and potentially enlightening first contact in galactic history, cultural exchange gone wrong. In the weeks following first contact, the Zenith remained in Earth's orbit as its crew engaged in a whirlwind of cultural exchanges and scientific discussions. The United Nations had set up a sprawling diplomatic compound to host the alien visitors, complete with specially designed habitats to accommodate their diverse physiologies. Despite the initial shock of discovering humanity's penchant for keeping predators as pets, the alien delegation had grudgingly agreed to continue their mission. However, tensions remained high, especially when it came to interactions with Earth's animals. Zixla stood in the compound's main conference room, her scales a swirling mix of cautious yellow and inquisitive green. She was delivering a presentation on alien ecosystems to a rapt audience of human scientists and politicians. And so, you see, she concluded, her melodious voice tinged with pride, on our homeworlds, we have achieved perfect harmony with our environments. Predator species are carefully managed in designated preserves, far from sentient populations. Dr. Chen raised her hand, a puzzled expression on her face. But Zixla, doesn't that disrupt the natural balance of your ecosystems? On Earth, predators play a crucial role in maintaining biodiversity. Before Zixla could respond, a commotion erupted outside the conference room. Captain Vexnor burst in, his exoskeleton clattering in agitation. Zixla, you must come quickly. There's been an incident. The two aliens rushed out, followed closely by Dr. Chen and several other humans. They arrived at the compound's garden area to find a scene of chaos. Blorp, the gelatinous linguist, was quivering atop a high wall, while below, a small tabby cat batted playfully at one of Blort's pseudopods that had gotten separated in the panic. It attacked me. Blort burbled in distress. That miniature predator tried to consume me. Dr. Chen couldn't help but chuckle, quickly stifling it when she saw the alien's grave expressions. I'm so sorry, Blorp. That's just Mr. Whiskers, the compound's resident mouser. He wasn't trying to eat you. He probably thought your pseudopod was a toy. Captain Vexner's antennae twitched in disbelief. You mean to tell us that you intentionally keep a predator in a diplomatic facility? This is an outrage. As Dr. Chen tried to calm the situation, a young intern approached, cradling a small furry creature in her arms. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I thought our guests might like to see something a little less threatening. This is my pet rabbit, Flopsy. Zixla's scales shifted to a curious blue as she leaned in to examine the docile animal. Just then, Mr. Whiskers, having lost interest in Blort's pseudopod, spotted the rabbit. With a playful meow, the cat bounded towards the intern. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. The intern, startled by the cat's sudden approach, lost her grip on Flopsy. The rabbit, acting on instinct, leaped from her arms, directly onto Captain Vexner's face. The compound erupted into pandemonium. Captain Vexnor stumbled backwards, emitting a high-pitched screech that shattered several nearby windows. Flopsy, terrified by the noise, began kicking furiously, his powerful hind legs battering the captain's sensitive antennae. Zixla tried to help, but in her haste, she tripped over Mr. Whiskers, who had decided this was all a wonderful new game. She fell into a nearby pond, her scales rapidly cycling through a rainbow of distressed colors. Human security guards rushed in, trying to restore order, but their presence only added to the chaos. Blorp, in a misguided attempt to help, extended multiple pseudopods, inadvertently entangling several humans and aliens alike in a sticky, gelatinous mess. Dr. Chen stood in the middle of it all, watching in horror as years of diplomatic preparation unraveled in a matter of minutes. "Please," she shouted over the din. "Everyone just calm down." But it was too late. Captain Vexnor, finally free of the rabbit's assault, stumbled to his feet, his compound eyes swiveled wildly, taking in the scene of utter chaos. "This is unacceptable," he chittered, mandibles clacking furiously. "We came here in peace, seeking to exchange knowledge with a fellow intelligent species. Instead, we find ourselves in constant danger from your uncontrolled beasts." Zixla, dripping wet and still colorfully distressed, tried to interject. "Captain, perhaps if we just—" "No," Vexnor cut her off. "We gave you a chance, humans, but you have proven yourselves to be reckless and barbaric. To think, we considered offering you membership in the Galactic Council." Dr. Chen's heart sank. This was rapidly becoming a worst-case scenario for Earth's first interstellar diplomatic relations. "Please, Captain Vexnor, this is all just a misunderstanding. If you'll allow me to explain." But the captain was beyond reasoning. "We are leaving this death world immediately. And rest assured, our report to the Galactic Council will recommend quarantine of your entire solar system. No civilized species should be exposed to your dangerous practices." As the alien delegation hastily retreated to their shuttle, Dr. Chen and her team watched in dismay. Years of scientific and diplomatic work were evaporating before their eyes, all because of a series of innocent misunderstandings. Back on the zenith, as the ship broke orbit and accelerated away from Earth, Zixla approached Captain Vexnor. Despite the disastrous end to their mission, her scientific curiosity hadn't abated. "Captain," she began cautiously, "while I agree that the humans' practices are shocking, don't you think there might be more to learn? How has a species that nurtures predators managed to become the dominant life form on their planet?" Vexnor's antennae drooped wearily. "Perhaps, Zixla, but that's a mystery for another time. For now, we must warn the Council about the potential threat these humans and their beasts pose to galactic peace." As the zenith jumped to faster-than-light speed, neither Zixla nor Captain Vexnor could have predicted how soon they would be forced to reevaluate their judgment of humanity and its animal companions. Predators unleashed. 6 standard galactic months had passed since the disastrous first contact with Earth. The Zenith, now part of a Galactic Council quarantine fleet, maintained a vigilant orbit around the solar system's outer reaches. Their mission: to prevent humans from venturing into interstellar space and to warn off any unsuspecting alien vessels that might stumble upon this death world. Captain Vexnor stood on the Zenith's observation deck, his compound eyes reflecting the distant pinprick of light that was Earth's sun. Despite the passage of time, he still felt a shudder run through his exoskeleton when he recalled their chaotic encounter with human pets. Zixla glided up beside him, her scales a thoughtful blue-green. "Captain, long-range scans are picking up an anomaly. A large vessel of unknown origin is approaching the solar system at superluminal speeds." Vexnor's antennae twitched in alarm. Impossible. No known species would dare violate a council quarantine. Before Zixla could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Blorp's voice burbled over the intercom, panic evident even through the gelatinous wobble of his speech. "Captain, to the bridge immediately. We're under attack." The scene that greeted them on the bridge was one of chaos. Holographic displays showed a massive black vessel that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. It had appeared out of nowhere, somehow bypassing their early warning systems. Evasive maneuvers, Vexnor ordered, but it was too late. A beam of sickly green energy lanced out from the alien ship, enveloping the zenith in a field of crackling energy. "We're caught in some kind of tractor beam," Zixla reported, her scales flashing warning reds and oranges. "They're pulling us in." As the crew watched in helpless horror, more ships began to appear, targeting the other vessels in the quarantined fleet. Within minutes, the entire Galactic Council presence had been neutralized. Inside the colossal black ship, Captain Vexnor and his crew found themselves face to face with their captors. Towering, armored figures loomed over them, their faces hidden behind insectoid masks that reminded Vexnor unnervingly of ancient predators. One of the figures stepped forward, its voice a harsh, metallic rasp. "We are the Swarm. Your biological and technological distinctiveness will be added to our own. Resistance is futile." Zixla's scientific mind raced despite her fear. A collective consciousness, she whispered to Vexnor. They assimilate other species to enhance themselves. The leader of the swarm turned its eyeless gaze upon her. "Correct, creature. And now we shall descend upon the world you have so thoughtfully quarantined for us. Its isolation makes it the perfect target." Vexnor's mandibles clacked in distress. "No, you don't understand. That planet is dangerous. The dominant species consorts with predators." A chilling sound emanated from the swarm leader, something that might have been laughter. "All the better. We shall absorb their strength and that of their beasts. We will become unstoppable." As the swarm armada began its ominous approach to Earth, alarms blared in military installations across the planet. Dr. Chen, who had been monitoring deep space communications ever since the aliens' abrupt departure, was among the first to realize the magnitude of the threat. "We need to broadcast a warning," she urged the hastily assembled Global Defense Council. "Humanity needs to prepare for invasion." As the world erupted into frenzied preparation, an unlikely alliance was forming aboard the captured Zenith. Vexnor turned to Zixla, his compound eyes reflecting grim determination. "Much as it pains me to admit it, the humans and their pets may be this system's only hope against the swarm. We must find a way to warn them." Zixla nodded, her scales rippling with a mix of fear and resolve. "I think I can reconfigure our long-range communicator to piggyback on the swarm's transmission. But Captain, if we do this, we'll be violating the quarantine. We'll be outcasts from the Galactic Council." Vexnor's antennae drooped momentarily before straightening with newfound purpose. "The Council isn't here, Zixla. We are. And right now, we're all that stands between humanity and annihilation." As Zixla worked feverishly to establish communication with Earth, the first wave of swarm ships entered the atmosphere. In cities around the globe, people looked up in terror at the vast, dark shapes descending from the skies. But humanity, as the Zenith's crew was about to discover, did not intend to go quietly. As the first swarm troops began to materialize on the streets of New York, London, Beijing, and countless other cities, they were met not only with military resistance, but with an unexpected army of four-legged defenders. In Central Park, a squad of swarm soldiers advanced implacably toward a group of cornered civilians. Suddenly, a cacophony of barks filled the air. A pack of dogs, pets that had escaped or been released by their owners in the chaos, charged at the invaders. German shepherds, Rottweilers, and even tiny but fierce Chihuahuas swarmed the aliens, their natural pack instincts kicking in as they defended their human companions. The swarm, for all their advanced technology, found themselves unprepared for the ferocity and unpredictability of Earth's fauna. In the Amazon, jaguars and anacondas ambushed swarm patrols. In the Australian outback, packs of dingoes harried the invaders. And in urban centers worldwide, domestic cats proved their worth as more than just mousers, their lightning-fast reflexes and sharp claws finding chinks in the swarm's armor. Aboard the Zenith, Vexnor and his crew watched in awe as humans and animals fought side by side against the swarm. Zixla's scales shimmered with a newfound respect. "Captain," she said softly, "I believe we may have misjudged these humans. Their bond with Earth's creatures. It's not a weakness. It's their strength." Vexnor nodded, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "Indeed. And now we must do our part to ensure that strength prevails." As the Zenith's crew worked to sabotage the swarm from within, the battle for Earth raged on. Humanity, standing alongside its loyal animal companions, faced its greatest challenge yet: the fate of not just one world, but potentially the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Reluctant alliance. The skies over Earth roiled with the chaos of battle. Swarm ships darted between skyscrapers, their energy weapons carving swaths of destruction. Human fighter jets engaged in desperate dogfights, their pilots pushing their machines to the limit against the technologically superior invaders. On the ground, the scene was no less frantic. In Washington, D.C., Dr. Sarah Chen found herself in an unlikely command center, the National Zoo. Surrounded by military personnel and a motley crew of zookeepers, she coordinated a most unusual resistance effort. "Teen Whiskers, what's your status?" she called into a makeshift radio. A scratchy voice replied, punctuated by yowls and hisses. "The Cat Brigade is keeping the swarm pinned down in DuPont Circle. These aliens don't know what hit him." Chen allowed herself a small smile. Who would have thought that an army of house cats, strays, and their feral cousins would prove so effective against alien invaders? Her moment of satisfaction was interrupted by a sudden crackle of static from the long-range communicator. A familiar melodious voice emerged from the speaker. "Dr. Chen, this is Zixla of the Zenith. Do you read me?" Chen's eyes widened in surprise. "Zixla, what's going on? Are you behind this invasion?" "Negative," came the reply, accompanied by the sound of clattering mandibles that Chen recognized as Captain Vexnor. "We are prisoners aboard the swarm's command ship. We've managed to establish this communication to warn you and offer our assistance." Chen's mind raced. The aliens who had fled in terror from a house cat were now offering to help against this overwhelming force. "What changed your minds?" she asked cautiously. There was a pause before Vexnor's voice responded, heavy with what seemed like embarrassment. "We may have misjudged your species, Dr. Chen. The way you and your animal companions fight together against the swarm, it's unlike anything we've ever seen." "We don't have much time," Zixla interjected. "The swarm operates on a hive mind. If you can disrupt their central consciousness, their entire invasion force will be thrown into disarray." Chen leaned in, her scientific curiosity piqued despite the dire circumstances. "How do we do that?" "Their command ship has a central node," Vexnor explained. "Destroy that, and you'll sever the link between the swarm's group mind and their troops on the ground." As Chen relayed this information to military command, a plan began to form. But they needed a way to get to the command ship hovering in low Earth orbit. Conventional aircraft wouldn't make it past the swarm's defenses. It was a young zookeeper who proposed the wild idea. "What about the eagles?" she suggested, pointing to the raptor enclosure. "They're fast, agile, and can fly higher than any other bird. If we could somehow equip them with miniaturized weapons." Chen's eyes lit up. It was crazy, but then again, so was fighting aliens alongside house pets. "Get me the best trainers and engineers we have," she ordered. "We're going to weaponize freedom." Over the next 48 hours, as the battle raged across the globe, a secret project unfolded. Military engineers worked alongside falconers and tech experts to create lightweight, bird-mounted EMP devices. The plan was to use the Eagle's incredible speed and maneuverability to bypass the swarm's defenses and deliver a localized electromagnetic pulse to the command ship's central node. As the makeshift Eagle squadron prepared for their mission, Chen received another transmission from the Zenith. "We've managed to create a brief window in the swarm's defenses," Zixla reported. "But we've been discovered. We don't have much time." Chen looked at the team of humans and birds assembled before her. "It's now or never," she said grimly. High above Washington, D.C., a formation of bald eagles took to the sky, each carrying a specially designed EMP pack. As they soared towards the swarm command ship, the aliens finally noticed the approaching threat. Energy beams lanced out, but the birds' natural agility, honed by millions of years of evolution, allowed them to dodge with incredible precision. Aboard the Zenith, now held in a detention field within the massive swarm vessel, Vexnor and Zixla watched the approaching eagles with a mixture of awe and disbelief. "I never thought I'd say this," Vexnor chittered, "but I'm rooting for the predators." Zixla's scales shimmered with agreement. "Perhaps, old friend, we've been thinking about predators all wrong. Look at how they work with the humans, not against them." As the eagles neared their target, the swarm's defenses intensified. Several birds fell, their sacrifice allowing their comrades to press on. In a final breathtaking dive, the lead eagle, a magnificent specimen named Liberty, streaked towards the pulsing central node of the swarm ship. At the last moment, Liberty released her payload and banked hard. The EMP device struck true, detonating in a spectacular flash of blue-white light. For a moment, everything seemed to pause. Then, chaos erupted. All across Earth, swarm troops suddenly stopped in their tracks, their coordinated attacks dissolving into confused individual actions. The command ship itself began to list, its systems failing as the EMP cascaded through its neural network. As klaxons blared and emergency force fields flickered, Vexnor turned to Zixla. "I believe, Chief Xenobiologist, that it's time we made our exit." Working quickly, the alien crew managed to disengage the Zenith from the failing swarm vessel. As they pulled away, they watched in amazement as the massive ship began to break apart, raining debris into the upper atmosphere in a spectacular light show. On the ground, humans and their animal allies pressed their advantage. Dogs herded confused swarm troops into containment areas. Cats continued their guerrilla tactics, harassing and disorienting the invaders. And in a supreme irony, many swarm soldiers found themselves being rounded up by local animal control units, their advanced armor proving no match for good old-fashioned catchpolls. As the Zenith descended towards the National Mall in Washington, D.C., Vexnor and Zixla prepared themselves for a reunion with the humans and their pets that they now saw in a whole new light. "You know, Zixla," Vexnor mused, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully, "I believe we may need to radically revise our understanding of interspecies relationships." Zixla's scales rippled in agreement, displaying a complex pattern that conveyed both excitement and apprehension. "Indeed, Captain. It seems we have much to learn from these humans and their animal companions." As the Zenith touched down and its ramp extended, the alien crew found themselves face to face with Dr. Chen, flanked by a contingent of soldiers, civilians, and a veritable Noah's Ark of animals. The moment of truth had arrived. Would this reluctant alliance forge a new understanding between species, or would old fears resurface? The fate of interstellar relations, and perhaps the future of the galaxy itself, hung in the balance as human, alien, and Earth's animals stood on the precipice of a new era. A new understanding. The dawn broke over a changed Washington, D.C. The National Mall, usually pristine and ordered, now bore the scars of battle. Debris from swarm ships littered the grounds, and makeshift barricades stood as silent testaments to humanity's desperate defense. Yet, amidst this chaos, an unprecedented gathering was taking place. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the base of the Lincoln Memorial Steps, flanked by an eclectic group. To her right were military officials and world leaders, their faces etched with the fatigue of sleepless nights and hard-won victory. To her left stood Captain Vexnor and Zixla, their alien forms a stark contrast to the human crowd. And surrounding them all was a menagerie of Earth's animals: dogs, cats, eagles, and even a few zoo escapees, including a particularly inquisitive capuchin monkey. As the morning sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the mall, Chen stepped forward to address the assembled crowd and the billions watching via hastily restored global broadcasts. "People of Earth," she began, her voice carrying a mix of exhaustion and hope, "we have faced our greatest challenge and emerged victorious. But this victory belongs not just to humanity, but to all of Earth's creatures who stood with us against the swarm." She gestured to the animals around her. "These beings, whom we've long called pets or wildlife, have proven to be our truest allies. They fought not because we commanded them, but because the bond between our species runs deeper than we ever realized." Vexnor stepped forward, his mandibles clicking softly as he addressed the crowd. "When we first came to your world, we saw your relationship with these creatures as a sign of barbarism, of an uncivilized species consorting with predators." He paused, his compound eyes scanning the audience. "We were wrong." Zixla joined him, her scales shimmering with a complex pattern of colors that conveyed respect and admiration. "What we perceived as a weakness turned out to be your greatest strength. The diversity of life on your world, and your ability to form bonds with species so different from your own, is something unique in our experience of the galaxy." As if to emphasize her point, the capuchin monkey chose that moment to clamber up Zixla's serpentine form, settling on her head with a curious chirp. Instead of recoiling in fear as she once might have, Zixla remained still, her scales rippling with fascination. Chen couldn't help but smile at the sight. "This is what makes us strong," she continued. "Our capacity for empathy, for forming connections across species barriers, is what allowed us to stand united against a force that sought to assimilate and homogenize all life." She turned to face Vexnor and Zixla directly. "And now we extend that same spirit of cooperation to you. Earth stands ready to join the galactic community, not as a quarantined death world, but as a beacon of biodiversity and interspecies cooperation." Vexnor's antennae twitched in what the assembled humans were learning to recognize as thoughtful consideration. "Dr. Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I must admit that we may have been hasty in our judgment of your world. Your victory over the swarm has proven that there is much we can learn from Earth and its inhabitants, all of its inhabitants." As if on cue, a golden retriever trotted up to Vexnor, tail wagging. The alien captain, who once would have recoiled in terror, cautiously extended an appendage. The dog sniffed it curiously before giving it a friendly lick. Vexnor's exoskeleton shuddered, not in fear, but in what might have been a chuckle. "Perhaps," Zixla added, carefully petting the monkey still perched on her head, "it is time for the Galactic Council to reevaluate its criteria for civilized worlds. Biodiversity and symbiotic relationships between species could be seen as signs of a thriving, advanced ecosystem rather than a primitive one." Chen nodded, her eyes shining with the possibility of a brighter future. "We have much to offer each other. Earth's ecosystems could provide new insights into biology and evolution. In return, we look forward to learning about the wonders of the galaxy." As the sun reached its zenith, casting a warm glow over the gathering, a new era of cooperation was born. Humans, their animal companions, and their once reluctant alien visitors began the monumental task of rebuilding and preparing Earth for its debut on the galactic stage. In the months and years that followed, the galaxy watched in fascination as Earth became a hub of interspecies cooperation. Alien scientists flocked to study the intricate web of relationships between Earth's varied species. Some even began to adopt pets of their own, leading to the humorous sight of gelatinous beings walking dogs or insectoid aliens cuddling with cats. The concept of pets spread across the galaxy, fostering greater empathy and understanding between diverse species. Earth's model of coexistence with its animal population became a template for restoring ecosystems on worlds long ravaged by industrialization. Vexnor and Zixla, once the reluctant harbingers of Earth's quarantine, became its most ardent advocates in the Galactic Council. They spearheaded initiatives to protect biodiversity across the galaxy, using Earth as a shining example of the strength that comes from embracing the full spectrum of life. And Dr. Sarah Chen. She became Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, a role she fulfilled with distinction, always with her faithful dog, Max, by her side. In the grand assembly of alien species, Max became a symbol of the unique bond that had propelled humanity to the stars. As Earth took its place among the stars, it did so not as a single species, but as a thriving, interconnected web of life. The phrase, man's best friend, took on a whole new meaning, encompassing not just dogs, but the myriad of species that had stood with humanity in its darkest hour. In the end, it was not advanced technology or military might that secured Earth's place in the galaxy, but the simple, profound bonds between species. The once feared Death World became known across the stars as the planet where life, in all its beautiful diversity, flourished in harmony. And so, as alien visitors arrived on Earth, they were greeted not just by humans, but by wagging tails, purring felines, and a cacophony of animal sounds that spoke of a world teeming with life and love. The galaxy had gained not just a new member, but a new perspective on what it truly meant to be civilized. In the grand tapestry of the cosmos, Earth shone brightly, a blue-green jewel where humans and animals had not just coexisted, but had become true partners in the great adventure of life. And that, perhaps, was the greatest victory of all.